half in the bag. Why do we have so many copies of Vampire Assassin? There's more copies of that around here than there are prescription pill bottles, and that's weird. What?
Oh, good, you're still here.
Yeah.
Did Mr. Plinkett leave?
Oh, he went to the pharmacy. He said something about getting his prescriptions for his high blood pressure, gout, shingles, AIDS, and he's hiding the night court tape from us. He says he won't give it to us until he fixes his original VCR. It's gonna be a while. Hey, what the fuck are you doing? Why did you buy toys?
Oh, I totally forgot. It's my stupid fucking nephew's birthday party today.
What the fuck?
So I picked him up some Avengers toys. Like, little kids like this shit too, right? It's not just fat, middle-aged, bearded white guys.
Fuck if I know.
Hey, does this look like someone to you?
Oh my God. The resemblance. Wait, look. The resemblance is uncanny. It does look like Betty White.
No, you fool.
Diana Ross, O.J. Simpson, Jeffrey Dahmer, Sean P. Diddy Combs, Dianne Feinstein, the California Raisins, Charles in Charge, Judge Judy, Hawaii Five-0.
No, you fucking idiot. It looks just like me.
Oh my God, you're right. It looks more like you than it looks like Chris Evans. Hey, wait a minute. This gives me an idea. How's me doing a clock light?
Well, kids, my name is Evan Richards, attorney at law, and I specialize in slip and fall, asbestos, and groin injury cases. So please, tell me, where did you slip and fall into asbestos, thus injuring your groin?
Well, Mr. Evans, or Richards? What the fuck is your name?
Evan Richards, attorney at law.
Well, this isn't that kind of case. It's a copyright lawsuit.
Copyright law, eh? Well, I'm afraid that's not my strong suit. And this isn't either.
What was that?
Oh, it's just my beeper. It's about that incident, the 1950s banana factory.
I want to sue Disney. This fucking toy looks nothing like Chris Evans, and it looks a whole hell of a lot like me. I want that sweet, sweet Disney money.
Well, I'm afraid you've got no case.
What? Why?
Well, you see, there's no way we could ever possibly figure out who sculpted this action figure or whether or not they're a fan of your highly popular internet show.
Aw, shucks, mister.
Yes, I'm afraid that possibility is totally outrageous. The mere thought that the person who sculpted this toy would just work in a sly nod to your hugely popular internet show, it's just no way we could believe that.
Well, that's unfortunate.
I mean, it does look exactly like you.
It's weird, right?
More than Chris Evans.
Yeah.
I mean...
In the movie, he's got like longer hair and it's way darker.
Yeah, it's...
Why, I'm sure the people who make Marvel movies have never even heard of you. Anyway, I did see the film that this particular toy is based on. Marvel's Avengers Infinity War, in theaters now. I'd be happy to sit here and talk to you about it, for $150 an hour.
Sure, why not?
Cut to trailer.
The entire time I knew him, he only ever had one goal.
The newest Avengers movie is here. This one is called Infinity War. The jokes about the movie being really long practically write themselves. Look out, Avengers! Thanos is coming! The villain we've been told we're supposed to be anticipating for the last 10 years, despite never being given any reason to do so. But he's here! And he's going to destroy half the galaxy with his magical golden oven mitt. Can the Avengers stop him? You'll just have to see the movie and then wait another year to see the next movie to find out.
Oh, well, lawyer, what did you think?
It's the most depressing summer popcorn movie since insert joke here. It's the most depressing summer blockbuster movie since Ghostbusters. It's the most depressing summer blockbuster since The Lone Ranger.
Depressing for different reasons, though,
Yes.
we should point out. This
Yes.
one's intentionally depressing. It's not that depressing, though, I didn't think. It has a depressing...
It dies with saying, "Oh God, I," while turning to.
Oh, spoilers.
Yeah.
But before we get into spoilers, general impressions.
Positive? Positive.
I thought it was delightful. Lovely.
Until it wasn't.
Until, well, you know, hey, I think the strongest thing for me is my expectations were subverted. One thing I kept thinking, I was like, I want to see, and this is not an example of my expectations being subverted, but they got it out of the way right off the bat. I was like, I wonder who's going to win, Hulk or Thanos? And then 2 seconds into the film, Hulk fights Thanos. I was like, all right, that's out of the way. And now I don't know what to expect.
So you're saying it subverted your expectations in a way that was satisfying and kept you wondering what was going to happen next?
Well, I think the concept of a purple, bald spaceman who's all-powerful coming to Earth, if handled by another film company, would be, I'm man, and everyone attacks him.
Yeah.
But this found many different ways to have all these different clever set pieces all over the place going on that all work towards the goal of punching man. Man barely got punched. Like Thor having to hold open this gate while solar energy went through him so that he could power a smelting room run by a gigantic Peter Dinklage dwarf. I mean, it's like crazy shit was going on.
Yeah.
Crazy shit was going on all over the place.
It's a strange structure for a movie.
It's hard not to be, I think, when you have this many characters. And when I was thinking about it, like halfway through the movie, I was thinking, I was feeling nostalgic for the original Avengers movie, and leading up to that, how I was like, man, there's no way this won't be a clusterfuck. And that first Avengers movie has like 6 characters. This movie's got 500, and it's not a clusterfuck somehow.
They keep, you know why? You know why? Because they keep the characters largely separated in isolated groups. This movie feels like, I don't even mean this as a criticism. It feels like about 20 B stories strung together.
Yeah, it's hard to have like a traditional 3-act structure with this movie, but it does feel like it's constantly building towards something. Right. It's not just like especially comparing Thanos to like Steppenwolf from the Justice League movie, like it's so drastically different. Like as far as, you should watch these 2 movies back to back just to see like the 2 different ways you can go about having a giant CG monster attack your superheroes.
You know the other funny comparison is between Marvel and DC? Marvel is now doing dark and gritty better than DC.
That's true.
While still making the movie entertaining
While
and
still
satisfying.
making the movie entertaining and having humor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I laughed at a lot of the humor, but sometimes it felt a little out of place in the heavier tone of it. But if I were to have a
that's the
critique,
Marvel formula. I mean,
you know, sometimes it you know, when you have a bad guy that's, you know, the robot flying around the city, yeah, a couple quips, but when things got really dark, they threw in some humor, which is fine. But that's my only criticism, really.
I'd compare this to The Empire Strikes Back. This is Marvel's Empire Strikes Back as far as the way everybody fractions off and does their own little storylines, and then especially with kind of how it ends, which I guess will lead into spoilers.
With spoilers now, you compare this to Empire. And here's the major difference between this and Empire. Like, there are similarities, but Empire at the end was bittersweet. This is just a downer fucking ending. There is no sweet for there to be a bittersweet ending here. Well, this is just bitter.
Well, to set up the ending, for anyone that hasn't seen it and doesn't care about spoilers, Thanos does get all the Infinity Stones, and he wipes out half of the Avengers, just turns them to ash.
Half of all life in the universe.
But we're focused on the Avengers. And everybody turns to ash and floats away, and then it cuts to credits. And I was waiting for that moment that's like a lead-in to the next one, and it doesn't happen. It just ends with everybody turning to ash. But I think you would have to be a complete moron to think that these characters are dead. So that undercuts it a bit, where it's like, well, they're just going to come back. Like,
yeah, but there are a lot of children who are going to see that. Yeah. And I don't know.
That was my first thought when the credits started rolling. Is like, there's going to be so many kids crying this weekend.
A 9-year-old is not going to go away knowing that.
No, an adult, anyone like our age seen it, you know, that impact is lessened because you know it's only temporary.
You fucking know they're making another Spider-Man movie.
Right, right.
Yeah, we know they're not killing off half of these important characters.
Yeah, but they do earlier in the movie kill off some other characters that I think that's going to be permanent. I mean,
Stabbings.
Stabbings. Loki gets strangled. Gamora gets thrown off of a cliff. I was thinking during that scene where Thanos throws Gamora off the cliff, I was thinking of, I'm sure this is all planned out and everybody knows what they're doing, but I'm picturing James Gunn in the theater and that happens and him pulling out his script like, oh shit, like erasing things.
To be fair, any of these deaths, even the ones that take place earlier in the movie, take them with a grain of salt because the plot, the MacGuffin here, is a device that can literally rewrite reality.
Sure. That's kind of, and it's not even really the movie's fault so much as it is the other movies in the Marvel Universe's fault, which is, and they even make a joke about it in this, like, oh, Loki's been dead before. Yeah. Mm-hmm. How it kind of lessens the stakes and the impact when you know everyone can just come back anyway. And also, like, the scope of this movie, it's big, it's very long, there's a lot going on, which would be satisfying if all the other movies were, like, smaller scale leading up to this. But they all kind of end in the big epic showdown. This doesn't feel as grand as maybe it should.
No, and
because of that,
I was very, very surprised and happy with that. Is the superhero fatigue? We keep saying that. I was expecting a little bit more like everyone is attacking Thanos kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like the end of Apocalypse, X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh,
now
yeah.
attacking him.
And just don't care.
And they're like, okay, well, how do we? Thanos has his henchmen, which are cool, especially that one guy, the super old, like creepy looking guy.
Looks like the Crypt Keeper, kind of.
So
the
awesome.
wizardy kind of telekinetic guy.
Yeah. And then his underlings are going around, so it's like, okay, Thanos's henchmen are going to this planet to do this thing. You know, they've got to go over here and do this. They have an actual war. Yeah, that was neat. You know, we didn't see that.
They even get around like the first Avengers movie. They're fighting all those faceless creatures at the end,
Yes.
and you're like, they're there to be killed. Like there's no personal stakes. Here, there's a little bit of that, in that the bad guys send these like mindless, just savage creatures, but that makes them more interesting.
Yeah, they captured them in a big holding pen.
Yeah,
for the
and they're just like
purpose
let
of
them loose.
Cannon
Like
fodder. Yeah.
they're like trying to break through the force field and like killing themselves in the process.
Yes.
Like the fact that they're so just like vicious kind of is interesting.
Yeah, they're just rabid monsters from A Quiet Place. Yeah, but I think one thing, like you said, it wasn't clusterfuck. The real obvious thing to mention here is that the reason why it wasn't a clusterfuck, one is you have 5, 6 little stories going around where they don't have 45 characters in a room.
Yeah.
And we've had 10 years to develop all of these characters. So it's like we know them all.
There's
not a minute to develop them.
Can you imagine someone going to see this movie just like, I'm going to go see summer blockbuster movie that's never seen any of the other movies? What the fuck is this? What's happening?
And all the characters are interesting and fun.
Yeah.
You know, like the scene when Thor's laying there and Drax is hilarious.
Yeah.
The Rocket Raccoon.
I was a little worried about seeing the Guardian, because I love the Guardians movies, so seeing them in the hands of someone other than James Gunn, but they nailed it. I don't know if he had input in the script or what. But
He might have.
maybe, but there's parts of this, long stretches, where it just feels like you're watching Guardians 3.
But I like that quippy Peter Quill Thor dialogue back and forth. Like, see, that was jokey, but it wasn't like we're laughing at what's happening.
Yeah.
We're
It's
taking what's
situational.
happening.
It's character-based.
Character-based. It was
Well,
fun.
and then I like the fractions of people that are kind of clumped together. That maybe like Thor goes on a little adventure with Rocket Raccoon. Like that's fun. Like that's a different pairing than you would expect.
And Tree. Hey,
And Tree, yeah, he just calls her Tree.
Does put a smile on my face.
Was any Thanos practical, do you know?
No, that was all
like
CG,
that.
which,
Yeah.
again, compare that to Steppenwolf. Like, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that he was a CG character. Like, when I was watching him in this, I was like, it's just James Brolin. I was like, James Brolin's giving a really good performance. Oh, wait, that's not really him. But,
Well, they probably captured his face.
They did.
yeah,
Motion
no, it was
capture.
motion capture, but it's still, like, compare that to Steppenwolf. Like, This is basically, like you mentioned, there's all these characters that are interacting. The Avengers characters don't have a lot of growth or arcs to them because, like you mentioned, we've been with them for 10 years. Yeah. This is the Thanos movie, which was leading up to it. I'm always like, I don't care about Thanos. Like,
do you care about Thanos now?
I do now. If they kept like hinting at him in the other movies, but they never explained why I should give a shit. It's like, oh, he's just a big purple space monster. Okay, why should I care? Well, and then they finally get it. Like, if they had gotten little hints throughout the other movies of like who he is, I would be intrigued.
He's been in the movies a lot.
He shows up, but he didn't do anything.
Well, if I had to guess, they were probably hedging their bets because they probably weren't 100% sure what they were going to do with it.
That sounds about right. I was a little shocked at the beginning of this movie, though. We have the opening scene where he gets the first stone, or the second stone from Loki. And I'm like, this is only the second stone he's gotten? This shit's been going on for 10 years.
It's very well crafted and set up where it's like, okay, this is here, but like you said, he's been waiting his entire life for this, and it's just like, now today's the day I'm gonna go out and hunt down the stones.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Well, they finally got to the point where they could make this movie, so. But yeah, I think if they'd scattered that throughout the other movies a little bit more, as opposed to just, oh, he only has one at the beginning of this movie, now he's got to get the rest of them. It would have shortened the length of this a little bit, which wouldn't have hurt it. Overall, I liked Thanos a lot, which was the most shocking thing.
It's a moderate complaint. The movie does feel too long. It's a moderate complaint.
Yeah, I mean, all the little story beats are good, but it is like when we finally cut back to like Captain America, you're like, oh, I kind of forgot about him.
Yeah.
He hasn't been in the movie for almost an hour.
You could feel when they were going to come back, like, I haven't seen Spider-Man in a while.
Yeah.
There he is.
This will be when it's on Blu-ray, this will be the ultimate like chapter skip movie. You're like, oh, good, a Guardian scene. Okay. Now we're back to Captain America. Skip.
But the thing is, though, a movie like that shouldn't work. It should be a mess, and it should be. I don't think it felt long to me. Like,
well, they're constantly changing up, cutting back and forth. It helps a lot.
They're keeping it fresh. They have these wildly outrageous scenarios going on that are just like that part when they fought Thanos when Star-Lord set up the trap. Remember?
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa, this is great." It didn't feel like there's
the bad
DC
guy
monster explosions. It was like, hey, that's clever, and then all these little wonderful things happen.
Every character gets a few moments to shine. In a movie with this many characters, that's like baffling.
So taking 48 characters, a really epic storyline of all these things, everyone's got something to do to help out in this process of trying to stop Thanos. And making it into a movie that's watchable and fun, I mean, is a feat. I mean,
it's an accomplishment. Yeah.
It's like, how do you top this? Like, I don't.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm good for now until the next Avengers movie, and that's the biggest thing I can say about this movie is like, oh, it ended in a way where I'm actually interested to see where it goes next.
Oh, sure.
It's not just like, oh, thank God the action's over.
Right.
But now in a couple months we get Wasp and Ant-Man. Who gives a shit now?
About sucking all the energy out of the room. Well, speaking of Thanos, let's talk about him, the breakout star of this film.
Yeah.
Purple monster from space.
It looks like a big purple nutsack.
And I hate to do this, but this whole movie was ripped off from an episode of Star Trek. And Rich will know it. I was thinking about it during the movie.
Which one?
When Thanos was explaining his backstory.
Oh, this is the TOS show where they wanted Kirk to get that one girl sick so she would infect all the other people on her planet that was insanely overcrowded? Or are you thinking of a different Star Trek episode?
I'm thinking of a different Star Trek episode.
Oh my God, which one are you thinking of?
Season 1, Conscience of the King. Because Thanos is explaining his backstory, and Kirk, when he was a young man, lived on a colony, and the colony ran out of food or something, and then the leader of the colony, who was kind of like a psychopath, said, "We're not going to get supplies, we're all going to die."
The revolution is successful, but survival depends on drastic measures.
How about we kill off half of you? And I'm going to do it at random.
You're a man of decision, Captain. You ought to understand that.
All I understand is that 4,000 people were needlessly butchered.
In order to save 4,000 others.
And that villain's name? Kodos.
Oh.
That's great, but it's similar premise, similar backstory. But I think that's what I liked about Thanos was he's not Steppenwolf. I'm bad, and I'm going to invade your galaxy. That's what I thought it was.
I will stop the Justice League because they are the good guys.
Thanos is not bad guy who just wants to destroy half the universe because.
I want unlimited power.
Yeah.
He's a psychopath, and he has some twisted logic.
He thinks he's the good guy. He thinks he's doing good for humanity, and I like the fact that the people he kills, it is completely random.
Yes.
Once you get the Infinity Gauntlet, though, can't you just will there to be infinite resources for all of the people?
Well,
And then you can lower the birth rate.
can make everybody sterile.
You can make,
Condoms for all.
everyone lives forever. There's unlimited food. So it breaks down a little bit if you really want to examine it.
That's like the no fun police.
Yeah, that's true. That's you're overthinking it too much.
It's like trying to overthink like the mechanics of a time travel movie. Yeah. It's like, but then you have no movie.
Yeah, right. I did like the idea. It said in the little mini explanation by the Wizard Man,
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, he's got the badass power of going, making things go in his hand. He goes like this. That means he's ready for action. Mm-hmm. That's better than Captain America, who just goes. He goes.
It is weird to me because I know you weren't too keen on the Doctor Strange movie.
It was okay.
I wasn't either, aside from the visuals. But I was talking to somebody about this.
It was much more fascinating in this.
Well, that's the thing is like I was thinking about why do they even bother with the standalone movies anymore? Because when Doctor Strange showed up in Thor Ragnarok for like one scene, I was like, oh, it's Doctor Strange, and it was like neat to see him, even though I didn't give a fuck about his own movie.
Yeah,
it's like we know who he is. We don't need these. Give like Spider-Man and Iron Man. Give them their own movies.
Sure, they're the fun.
But all
ones.
these other characters, like it feels like filler to get to a movie like this, where it's like, oh, this is what I like, is them all interacting.
They'd be wrong, but they might at the time just not have been confident enough to do that. Like, we gotta have a Strange movie if we're gonna have Doctor Strange.
Yeah, we gotta set him up. I mean, they
do it.
introduced Black Panther in Civil War.
True.
It's like that's all you needed, really.
We'll tell that to the fucking world.
Well, everybody loves the Black Panther movie. It was weird too, by the way, seeing Wakanda and them all fighting in this when it's like the Black Panther movie was just a couple months ago. It's like we're already kind of getting a sequel to it.
Still playing.
It was playing next door. So that's a little weird. Yeah. But then I think after this they're gonna ease up a bit. We'll get the Ant-Man movie, and then I don't think there's a whole lot until next Avengers.
It's hard to put the brakes on the money train.
Yeah.
But after this whole Thanos thing,
this feels like the first half of the end. Like,
yes.
Which maybe
beginning of the end.
With the characters at the end that turn to ash, like I feel like that's like because it's all like the original Avengers are the ones that don't, right? Who's left at the end of
Pretty
this?
much just the original Avengers are left. They killed Black Panther.
Yeah,
and
he
he's
leaves.
like that's strange because he's super
but I
fucking
mean, you end
hot
up
right now.
They didn't
Sure.
know that at the time.
Well, that's what I'm thinking is like the people that are still alive at the end of this movie, whatever they do with the next movie, that's going to be how they kind of like tie up their stories.
Yeah.
Because like Robert Downey Jr., I think he's done. I kind of got that vibe from this movie. Like he's starting to phone it in a little bit.
It was a nice fake out. His death fake out.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Well, they knew everyone thought he was going to be killed off.
Yeah.
That's why it worked.
What you guys were saying earlier about like you, Rich, you're like you can do anything with the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Now there's no tension because you can reverse time and go back and blah, blah, blah. I think it's reaching that critical mass where the House of Cards can collapse because you're just like, what's next?
We'll see, yeah.
Well, this does feel like a climax, though.
Oh yeah.
Well, it feels like the first half of a climax.
Yeah. After this, you start building again slowly with new characters.
Yeah. The fatigue only sets in when the movies are lame, though. Like this movie, I wasn't particularly anticipating it, but I was entertained the entire way through because it was just a solid movie.
This does feel like the summit of a mountain.
This feels like once you're done with the second half of this, just close the book. But they won't do that, of course. They can't.
Well, I don't know that that's necessarily true. It'll just be a new book. Because like I said, it's probably not going to be the old Avengers. You're not going to have Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor running around.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll find a way to reset it. I mean, they've made a lot of smart decisions so far.
I was thinking about that too, like, because this has been 10 years now since Iron Man, and it's like the way they've slowly built things up, built a cinematic universe that never becomes like a clusterfuck. Maybe a tiny, tiny bit with Age of Ultron, but for the most part, like, compare this to everyone else that's tried to replicate the Marvel formula, and like nobody has done it properly. Like the fact that they've stayed so focused and been able to get to this point where a movie with 40 characters is not a disaster. It is one of the most entertaining movies I've seen in the last few summers. Like that's an impressive feat.
I don't get people that are Camp DC, like hardcore Camp DC, and you know they say you're Marvel fanboys or whatever, but to me the movies are just more relatable. They're funner. They have an energy to them.
Can you see DC making an entertaining section of their movie that was just about building a hammer? Can you see DC pulling that off?
We're going to dedicate 45 minutes to them trying to build a hammer. Oh, look, Peter Dinklage showed up.
When I'm done, half of humanity will still exist.
I do like that maybe for the first time in any of these movies, the main bad guy, they always talk about how powerful all the bad guys are. This is the first time where you really felt it.
Yes.
Where he really, I was like, man, he's just like taking these people out like it's nothing.
Yes.
Like, and it really had more of an impact than it has in a lot of the other movies.
He's actually quite frightening.
Yeah.
And not just in his physical stature, but being a psychopath.
Well, in his ideology, where it's like, you know that he doesn't think what he's doing is bad. Like, he thinks he's doing something for the greater good.
Yeah, and those wonderful little twists that he will kill you, but then sometimes he'll be kind and not kill you. You know, like, it's like, you don't know what he's going to do. It's not just like, oh, you gave me what I want. Well, you said you'd spare my life, Thanos. I lied. You know, like,
Well, the
but
scene where
Thanos, it makes him a little more complex.
Yeah,
so.
well, in the scene where he sacrifices Gamora, I was like, they're not gonna kill her. Fucking Red Skull's there for some reason, but yeah, they're not gonna kill her. And then he's like crying as like our main villain, this big hulking monster, has got a tear in his eye. Like, I wasn't expecting this. Like, that's impressive.
He really loved her.
Yeah, that was good. There was some nice emotional moments going on.
Why was Red Skull there?
It was fun. I don't care.
I mean, it was. I think. How did he die? I haven't seen that Captain America movie since the theater.
Didn't the Tesseract just suck him into nowhere?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it was more of like, who can we bring back that people will be surprised by? Because nobody's thought about the Red Skull since that first movie. Nobody cares.
Well, if we're going to talk about wrapping up this chapter of the Marvel Cinematic, like right back to where we started, Red Skull was there at the beginning.
That's true.
He's there at the ending now.
Yeah.
I saw it as kind of that.
I was just wondering what he does up on that mountain. When he's just waiting for someone to show up.
That's all he does. That's literally all he does.
It was weird to be nostalgic for a movie that I didn't particularly care for. He shows up and you're like, oh, it's the Red Skull from that Captain America movie.
I thought it was Skeletor. I didn't know who it was.
I'll be back.
I was like,
They're introducing the He-Man universe into the Marvel Cinematic
Yeah,
Universe.
didn't
Mike,
know
it was
what
a
it was.
Nazi. It was a Nazi.
Which is ironic, because when he showed up in this movie, I said, I did not see that coming. I'm so sorry.
That was great.
is that a joke?
That's one of those jokes, yeah.
What? I don't get it. Explain the joke to me.
Hail Hydra.
Well, I don't have too much more to say about this film.
No, surprisingly few complaints for a movie of this size.
Other than an extreme warning for children under 17. It was really nice that Thanos won. I mean, I was not expecting that, and it was very well done and depressing and sad and emotional at the end when everyone's turning into dust.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is people always complain about how safe these movies are, and a lot of them are, but I would not have expected them to end the movie like this.
Right.
Like, and it's not just that everybody dies, it's like seeing everybody like float away into ash.
It was
haunting. Like, it was hot. I was like, where is this going? Like, I was intrigued.
Yeah.
And then it didn't even give a hint that this is like, they'll be back. It just ends. I was like, this is great.
It was bold.
It was a risk from a studio that is not known for taking risks.
Why does it work here and not in Star Wars: The Last Jedi? Why does the subverted expectations work in this instance and not in the other? Because you know that's going to be the bitching in the comments. But The Last Jedi is subverted and it was bad.
The mere act of subverting expectations in and of itself is not an accomplishment. Like,
Okay.
that's easy. How are people going to expect this to end? We won't do that. It's subverting it in a way that is intriguing and satisfying in its own right, which this does, and that does not.
Where you're asking, where is this going to go?
At the end of Last Jedi, I was like, I'm done with Star Wars. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care where this goes. At the end of this, I was like, I want to know what happens next. I'm actually actively anticipating the next Avengers movie. Like, that's the biggest shock of all.
Perfectly balanced. As all things should be.
So, Rich, would you recommend?
His name is Evan.
So, Richard.
Evan Richards.
So, Evan Richards, would you recommend
Yes.
the movie? Okay.
Yes, I would. It works surprisingly well for a movie starring 40 characters.
Yeah.
I would recommend this movie, Thanos Man, whatever it was called. It was just lovely. I'm a Marvel shill fanboy. I thought, like Rich said, 500 characters. They're all fun and interesting and unique, and they're all working together. And there's 6, 7, 8 different fun set pieces, and you don't get bored.
They were smart enough to compartmentalize the characters.
Yes, it's like a tackle box of Marvel fun.
Well, that's my time. I'll be sending you a bill in the mail.
Well, Jay, there goes our chances for that sweet, sweet Disney settlement check. Guess it's time to move on to Plan B, a slip and fall accident at Disney World.
You know, if you go with Plan B, make sure you slip and fall into asbestos. And it's kind of awkward, but make sure you land on your groin. That's where the real money is. My line of work, we call that the triple play, an unlosable case. Well, guys, they're expecting me back at the shelter by 10. Have a nice night.
He's homeless?
Bye!
That's why lawyer was misspelled on his business card. Well, Jay, I think we're gonna have to chalk this one up to coincidence. But with this, I think we got a real case.